Good day, everyone, especially to our handsome instructor, Mr. Gamale. Sir, good morning. I am Gerald S. Martinez, BS Crim 2 student from Misamis Oriental Institute of Science and Technology. And for today's video, I will discuss the chapter 6 of the book, which is the application of photography in police work. So let's start the discussion. So let's move to the next page. Basic components of photography. So there are three basic components of photography, which is light, equipment, and chemicals. So first is light. So what is light? Light is one of the most important elements of creativity in photography. Light is what allows us to convey information and, more importantly, emotion in an image. Once you understand light, you'll have the knowledge to create a wide variety of creative images. So that's the light. So second is equipment. So what is equipment? It is in when equipment helps the photographer express their creative vision, that the equipment becomes a tool and not just some expensive toy. So third is chemicals. So what is chemicals? The halides that are often used are chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Although bromine is the most common. So that's the three basic components of photography. So let's go on to the next page. So photography. Photography has and still continues to serve a wide variety of functions in our criminal justice system. So photography is still continue to serve a wide variety of our criminal justice system. The extent to which photography can be applied in the different pillars of our criminal justice system will depend on the size of the organization, its financial capabilities, the enthusiasm, imagination, and skills of it. Some application of photography for practical exercises during laboratory works. So there are 8 application of photography for practical expresses during laboratory works. So first is identification purposes. So what is identification purposes? Forms example, if you take a photo of a suspect, so that's the identification purposes. Second is recording and preserving of evidence. So what is recording and preserving of evidence? Recording the crime scene is also known as documenting the crime scene. This includes writing notes, taking photographs, recording videos, and much more. Evidence needs to be preserved from whether the people. So that's the recording and preserving of evidence. So let's move to the next. Number 3, discovering and proving of evidence not readily seen by the naked eye. If the evidence does not relate to the providing place, time, not only details of how they discovered the item but also circumstance to illustrate the crime. So that's the discovering and proving of evidence. Number 4, recording action of offenders. So what is recording action of offenders? Unlawful behavior and as a consequence of the offender heeding the warning, the police take no further action. The accident needs to routinely be. So that's the recording action of offenders. So next is number 5, for court exhibits. So what is for court exhibits? Typically, the court requires you to make copies of each exhibit you want to have admitted into evidence and place a specific sticker on each page that identifies the exhibit with a particular number or letter. Some courts require different colored stripes for the plaintiff and the defendant in which cases. So that's the for court exhibits. Number 6 is for crime prevention. So what is crime prevention? It's the attempts to reduce and determine the crime and criminals. It is applied specifically to efforts made by governments to reduce crime. So that's the crime prevention. Number 7, public information. So what is public information? It's the public relations approach which aims for providing mutual goodwill and trust by sharing the organization related information with target audience in complete openness and honesty. So that's the public information. So last one is police training. So what is police training? When we say police training, it is a training of a police. So that's the some application of photography for practical exercises. So let's move on to the next page, which is identification of photography. An identification of photography should be an accurate likeness of the subject from which he can recognize by witness or police officers. This photograph should try to reproduce every mole, scar, wrinkles, and other marks which will help to identify the subject. Next is crime scene photography. What is crime scene photography? A. General consideration. The primary purpose of crime scene photography is to provide information that will assist the successful investigation and subsequent prosecution of a criminal case. So, primary purpose of a crime scene photography is to provide information that will assist the successful investigation. Photography is used a permanent visual record of the exact and original location and condition of the different aspects of the sign of the scene and vital evidence of proof. Next is generally crime scene photography served in the following areas. So first is provide the investigator and the prosecutor with an accurate pictorial presentation of the appearance, position of the object at the crime scene. So, provide the investigator and the prosecutor with an accurate pictorial presentation of appearance and position of the object at the crime scene. Second, to aid and questioning of suspect witness when their sworn statement are being taken. So, number three is to prevent to the court an accurate picture of the scene, thereby enabling them to understand the evidence better and evaluate intelligently the testimony concerning the distances of the defendants and witness. Perspective camera position. Crime scene photographs are designed to present to a viewer of the areas as would have met the eye of an average observer. The procedure for taking the photographs is straightforward. It must have a good perspective, or simply stated, the size and distance of objects in the photograph must convey a normal expression to the average viewer. Licenses. Two licenses are usually sufficient at a crime scene: a wide-angle lens and a normal lens. Very seldom that a telephoto lens is needed. A macro zoom lens is the most ideal for crime investigation. Lighting. Usually existing room lights, daylight, and artificial lights may be satisfactory for taking photographs of crime scenes. However, because of a wide variety lighting condition in different areas of room, there is a need for a supplemental or additional lights. Markers in the field of view. Because of the objection of some lawyers and the court to marking device appearing in the photographs of crime scenes, it is therefore wise or prudent to take a photographs without it and one with. The legal accepted markers or making device are the following. So there are three illegal accepted markers or making device. First is ruler or measuring device. So when we say ruler or measuring device, it is a ruler. Second is identification data. So identification data is like a data of a suspect, like a photograph of a suspect. So number three is location marker. Ruler or measuring device. Ruler yardsticks or tape measures can show relative size and distance between objects. It can also show the degree of magnification or reduction of the final print. These rulers must be placed beside the subject. In the case of fingerprints or handwritings, they are usually placed at the base to maintain uniformity of location in photographs that will be used for comparison charts. Identification data. A small design usually placed at the sign, but its data should be limited to the date, time, location, case, or job number. Location markers. This can be sticks or numbered sign to show a specific location of a small object not readily seen in an overall photograph. In selecting a marker, avoid using an article which resembles an object that is originally found in the scene. Photographs log. When responding to a case, recording of the data regarding the circumstance surrounding or related to the pictures taking of the crime scene must be noted for instant recollection. Usually, this information, written on a notebook, are transferred to the original request form, where the negative will eventually be attached before entering the file.
Ang programang ito ay rated SPG. Striktong patnubay at kabayan ng unang ang kailangan.
Specific crimes are some suggestion of what photographs to take one of the following crimes. Again, we remind you that the guidelines on this subject is the nature of the offense and the elements of the crime. First is homicide or murder. Since the investigation of death has a wide variety of forms, photographs should provide information concerning the manner and cause of death of the victims. General consideration. First is exterior of the building, including surrounding areas which will show place and manner of entry or exit, places of concealment, visibility of various points, shoe or footprints, tire impressions, broken branches or trunks, and etc. Second, the room or area where the body was found, also joining rooms. Number 3, evidence of struggle such as overturned chairs, broken objects, or articles unnecessarily. And number 4 is sign of activities prior to the occurrence, like the presence of the playing cards, bottles of liquors, cigarettes, bats, TV or radio, sets on, etc. in general articles apparently in use immediately prior to the commission of the crime, or articles that have been disturbed from the ordinary position, as well as articles whose presence is foreign or don't belong to the scene. Number 5. Trace evidence like marks of conflict on the body, on clothing, tracks of blood stains, fingerprints, shoe or footprints, fragments of glass, metal, and potential glue materials. To show the body in the scene, it is positioned in relation to the articles in the room. At least 2 photographs of the body should be taken at right angle to each other, and the camera position drawn from the normal position of an observer. Other photographs should include close-ups of visible wounds and other visual aspects of the condition of the body, as well as the weapon. Cause of death. Crimes involving firearms. In case where firearms was used in the commission of the crime, the work of photographer is more difficult and complex. The taking of photographs must be in consultation and advice of forensic ballistician and medical legal officer. From the ballistician opinions to determine the distance at which the firearms was apparently fired, and other issues relating to the trajectory. From the medical legal officer opinion on wounds and path of the bullet through the body, and the distinction between the entrance and exit wounds. In photographing the body, it should include views from the direction in which the weapon was apparently fired and another from the opposite directions to show the area from which the firearm was fired. In photographing the body should include views from of direct direction in which the weapon was apparently fired in another from the opposite directions to show the area from which the firearm was fired. The usual technique adopted to show the path of the bullet is to stretch a white cord or string from the body to the apparent point of discharge, or from the body to the bullet hole on walls of ceiling or whether bullets were embedded and recovered. For indoor scenes, take photographs or marks of bullets and impact with walls or other solid objects from the point of fire. Take pictures of the height of bullet holes from the floor and its distance to adjoining walls. Close-up photographs of bullets holes with a scale and without for possible determination of the caliber of the weapon recovered bullets, cartridge, or shells on the walls or furniture. For outdoor scene, photographs should be taken to show possible long trajectory or ricochet angle of direction of fire from many possibilities like shooting from another building, from behind a tree or structure, from a vehicle, and a list of other possibilities. Hanging. Indeed, apparently due to hanging doubt sometimes exists whether the occurrence is homicide, suicide, or accidental. The original position of the body is of prime importance. Naturally, the necessity of administering the first aid measures of first results in complete change in the original position. If the body was found misunderstood, the photograph that will help determine the manner of death is in an overall view as the body and the rope taken at torso and foot level show the length of the body to the ground. It is said that a murderer usually tries to raise the body completely, while in suicide frequently does not get his feet clear of the floor, and the sometimes found sitting or half-prone position. Photographs should also show relative position of objects such as chair of stool which appears to have been kicked from under the feet of deceased. Close-up shots are the not its size, type, and location on the neck, depth and location of the groove in the neck, black and blue marks along the groove. Signs of violence about the neck, throat position of the tongue, or bending in the hands of feet. Drowning. In drowning case, the body is usually the object of interest since the crime scene itself is uncertain except the location of where the body was found floating or snug. Photograph the whole body both from the standing observer position and from ground level position. Close-up shots should show any form in the mouth, whether open or closed wounds, if any peculiar markings, unusual discolorations, articles found in the hand or clothing. The use of color film is also devised. Electrocution. In case of death by electrocution, the usually photographs are taken in the area of scene, particularly the cause of the current flow or from the electrical connection where the shock should have originated, like exposed wires, cracks, consulsions, presence of water near or surrounding the body, the accessibility of metal fixtures to the deceased's original position at the time of shock. Explosion. In case of explosion, take photographs that will help determine whether the explosion is directed against property, against person, or both. To be considered in selecting objects that should be photographed are the following. Nature of the explosive device. Homemade dynamite, liquid chemical bomb or other military hardware or stuff strewn about the scene are parts and pieces, fragments of its container, fuse, tapes, wire, clothes, papers, metals, parts that embedded on walls or other objects at the scene. Under the detonated part of the explosive, they may be found at distance from the point of explosion. Traces of liquid explosives, stains on clothing, curtains, or walls, particular particles of wax or paraffin or spillage at the approaches of the scene. Point of origin, the exact spot where the thing is placed and probably open windows or doors where it was thrown. Condition of household items. This may be objects which will show whether the explosion was due faulty gas line, gas leaks from the gas valve, ruptured pipes or fitting, etc. Photographs should also show the degree of destruction and how wide was the area was affected. Robbery case. So what is robbery case? General view of exterior of the building, point break or entry, mark force should be shown clearly with both medium views and close-ups. C. Point of exit. Condition of the room. Beware of the characteristics patterns which will indicate modus operandi. Place where valuable materials were removed. Articles left behind like vulgarly tools, crowbars, metal saw, metal file, screwdrivers, and etc. Trace evidence like fibers adhering on windows frames, sole, cigarette butts, burned matches, powders, full marks, shoe or footprints, fingerprints which includes the places where they found or developed. Six offenses in the crime of rape. The photographs to be taken are the place of incident, signs of struggle or resistance on the part of the victim and object of evidence. The photograph of the general view should probably show the remoteness of the area to normal traffic or its distance to the nearest dwelling place or that the place is not a normal meeting place for social purposes. Medium shots show broken branches or pressed grasses, it crumpled bedding. Medium shots show broken branches or pressed grasses if outdoors and crumpled bedding or pillows stripped by indoors. Close-up should show buttons removed from the clothes, torn clothing or garments, hairs or fibers, presence of biological stains like blood or semen on the body of the victim are signs like contusions, bruises, or wounds before it was usual practice. It also photographs resurrection found in the private part of the victim, but this is not compulsory but voluntary. However, a written waiver is asked from the victim and from parents or guardian if the victim is a minor. Number 4. Arson or fire. The difficulty of proving arson, the willful and malicious burning of property, is so great that every technical and aid must be brought to the photographing of an arson case is sometimes long, extending for a period of several days. It should begin as soon as possible, usually pictures of the fire in progress, and continue throughout the search for evidence after the fire.
Sinabi ni Alan Peter Cayetano na 500 billion pesos ang naidagdag sa national budget next year. 200 billion lang po ang
Photographic coverage of suspected arson case should not be limited to still photographs but must include motion, picture, or video. The photographs to be taken after the fire are: for exterior view, all sides of the building to show the extent of damage. For the interior view, look for the following: presence of incendiary devices, materials. Second, significant arrangement that are suspicious or that shows planned burning. Number 3 is burned areas with decreased intensity or the apparent origin of the fire as seen by witnesses or firemen in the alleged point of origin of the fire. Take the medium shot to identify the location when close-up photograph of the following. Electrical entrances matters for fuses, switches, and any evidence of tampering or repair. Gas, bulbs, piping, connection, and also sign of the tampering of repairs. Fire extinguisher, its operating mechanism to determine whether it's operational or defective.
masyadong mahalaga ang pag-uusapan natin. Hindi na pwedeng ipagpaliban.
During the search for clues, the photographer should be around so he can immediately photograph it. Bear in mind that photographic objects are generally black or dark objects. So care are most exercised that exposure, usually an additional 2-4 times increase on normal exposure, will be the proper adjustment. In some instances, the taking of photographs, public information, fire prevention, and training of new recruits are included in the photo coverages. Photographs of this sort are the fire trucks, ambulance, medical or rescue efforts, injuries, and even deaths. Human interest photographs of fire victims in panic, in agony, and distress, or even in comical situation are good for press releases. Traffic vehicular accidents. Death or serious injuries being investigated by the police involving motor vehicles should be photographed with primary purpose to help determine whether there was negligence in the operation of the vehicle, inadequate patrol due to the executive speed, or loss of control due to the defective mechanism or sudden physical stability of the driver. Distance, positions, speeds, and fragments left behind the scene of the usual photographic of subjects since injured persons are removed from the vehicle to the hospital or morgue, and vehicles involved are moved to the sides to give way to traffic. The taking of photographs should be done with speed and precision. The accident and the difficulty involved fixing responsibility be ensured to include reference points and details of the cause and responsibility of the accident. This list had been found to be applicable in any case. Number 1, general view. Exact location or area or collision. This should include debris lying on the roadway, skid mark, and other evidence. Position of vehicles as they found. Surrounding areas, take one or several photographs from distance, if possible from a high point, from a window, or proof of a building to show an intersection of the street, as well for possible road hazards like blind corners, potholes, tree branches, or traps that may obscure vision, traffic control mechanism or lights operational or not, road signs and notice, etc. To corroborate testimonies of eyewitnesses, take a picture from their eye level standing position. Vehicles must be photographed individually for damaged areas. One picture should show it in full with its license plate for identification purposes. Take a close-up photograph of the damaged area to show the force of the collision, speed at which the vehicle were traveling to the moment of impact. The location of the damage may also help show how accident took place. So that's all, and thank you.